All right, guys, continuing on. So this is the standard information platform. This video will be covering how to set up a buyer. This will be the first of two videos on how to set up a buyer. This will be the buyer setup, and then we'll go into one for specifically on integrations. So when you first get into the platform, again, this is a very powerful platform. You can do a lot of different things here, but next thing we're going to cover is how to set up a buyer. So this will be data sent out of the platform. This is going to cover every way you can get data out. And so to set up a buyer is going to be very similar to how you set up a vendor, and then also how you did the vertical. So if you have not set up a vertical, please refer to that first video on vertical setup before you can set up your buyers. So to set up a buyer, it's also very easy. We're going to click on this buyer here. Setting up a new buyer is very simple. We're just going to go over to the right-hand side here and click on Add Buyer. And so we're going to call this person Alpha Buyer. And we're going to click Add New Entity here. So Alpha Buyer. Again, this is very similar to setting up a vendor. So you need to put in the name. You can leave the address optional. If you put in a website, that will update the icon with the brand icon. And you can also add their logo if you'd like to do it manually, but that'll show up in there. So we're going to click on Save and Return. And so we have Alpha Buyer, or the Alpha Buyer here. So we're going to go ahead and click Save. So this is going to create our buyer profile here. And so this will allow us to create an unlimited number of buyer campaigns. Each buyer campaign will be associated with a vertical. So we're going to go ahead and set up our first buyer campaign so we can get data out of the platform. And so we're going to click on Add Campaign, this top right-hand button here. We can go ahead and name it. So we'll go solar again. And then our vertical type, we're going to go down and we're going to click on Solar New, which is the vertical we set up in that first video. So you have two options here for campaign types. You have ping post. This is where you're sending the lead on to most likely another marketing agency or someone who's going to be bidding on the lead dynamically. So this is a two-step process where you're going to ping the buyer and the buyer returns back a bid. And then if they are the winning bidder, you will post to them. If you have a buyer that is just an end buyer, or you have a fixed price agreement, or you're just getting data out, the more simple version is the direct post, which we'll set this one up today. Go ahead and click Save. So direct post will allow us to post the data out to whoever we'd like. So we click Save. This is going to create our buyer campaign here. The buyer campaign allows you to basically save all the data that's going out to this particular buyer and buyer campaign. So we can see this is the name Solar under vertical Solar New. If you have big verticals where you have multiple sub verticals, you can filter on this. Most of the time, you're going to be leaving that blank. The quality accepted, we'll go over in some advanced settings, but this is allowing you to further refine down and based on the vendor quality so you can match these up. So we're going to move through these settings pretty quickly today. Most of this is set up now, and so the only thing you need to finish is going to be the integration step, so you can actually send the data and specify where it's going, but I will cover that in one of the next videos. But now that we have a buyer campaign set up, we're going to go over to price and limits. So if it's a direct post campaign, you do need to set the price here. So say we're going to go $50. So we've set a $50 price here. You can set budgets or max number of leads per day, per week, per month. You can also set frequency so you don't get them all in the first 5 minutes. And so you can set all of these limits here. And then you can also do a margin. So we're assuming here that you're running in marketplace mode. So you're going to be setting up separate buyers and vendors. If you are a brand or you are only buying leads for your own consumption, then please skip ahead to the streams setup, and I will cover how to do streams. Streams combine both vendors and buyer campaigns, and so you can skip ahead here. In the buyer campaign, you can set a margin. You can set this to 0 if you don't want to take a cut. This will reduce the bid to the vendors by either the percentage or the dollar amount you specify. And you can also specify this per vendor or vendor campaign if you'd like, so you can make this variable. So that if you had a $100 price that you'd put above and 25%, then you would be returning a $75 price to the vendor. These are some advanced settings, which we'll cover in the global settings later on. But this is pretty much the setup here. So remember, the big thing is you just have to put in a direct, you just have to put in a price for the buyer here. Now moving forward, we have a couple of different things. So we have all these same filters. So the filters are going to be the same thing that you have on the vendor side. So this is going to allow you to filter and assign rules, what this campaign will and will not accept. So you can change like own property to true. This makes it so the lead has to be a property owner. In case this is a solar one, we can add credit rating or utility provider, and you can say, and this is all going to be based on your vertical settings. And so in this case, we want to only be accepting people have good or excellent credit where they are the homeowner. You can test these filters as well if you click on that test filters button to make sure they're working as expected. The schedule days, this allows you to put in a schedule. So if you wanted to put in like a Monday through Friday, you can do Monday 9 a.m. to Friday. This will do the day parting for you automatically. So you don't need to put in one schedule for every day. This will put it in for every single day this way, and then you can select your time zone, go New York. So this will do this. If we want to put in a blackout day, you can click on add blackout day. So this might be like, for example, January 1, and also New York. So this will turn it off for New Year's Day. And then a big one here is setting up leads by location. So we're going to click enable location filter. You can do this two different ways. You can copy and paste zip codes in. They can either be separated by commas or just by spaces. So pretty much you can always copy in from an Excel sheet or wherever you have this saved. This will validate for you. So if you don't do it correctly, it will not allow you to save. So if it allows you to save, then the system is seeing your zip codes correctly. You can also flip this over to US states, and you can set in whatever states that you would like to select. And you can run it this way. If you're operating outside of the US, then you can do your geolocation filtering based on the filters, and you can add in custom fields to do that, and you can not rely on the filters which are US oriented. Moving forward, and we'll go ahead and save this. All right, we can move to the allow block section. This allows you to, again, block vendors or vendor campaigns that do not want to be going into this buyer campaign. So this could be either low quality vendors or maybe just data you don't want coming into this campaign. This platform by default will allow both ping post and direct post vendors to send in data. So all vendors will be eligible no matter what the campaign type you had set up before. You can also switch this to an allow list. By default, it is in a block list, which means it is open to all of the vendor campaigns that you have set up. If you want to send this over to an allow list, this would be more kind of like a wedding invitation sort of system where only the ones that you have pre-selected and invited are allowed to send into this campaign. You can also do this for source IDs or sub IDs, and this also can be run in the allow list or block list format. So you can run it either way, and then you can also do this for landing pages, which also can be run in allow or block list format. Last thing is going to be the error section, and this error section is going to show any errors that the buyer is sending back to you and how often you're getting them, and that's going to be campaign specific. And so with that, this is going to wrap up how you create the buyer campaign. In the next video, I'm going to be going over how you do integrations, which is how you send the data out, and then also how you can test that, and distributions, which is going to be how you can send data to multiple endpoints if you want to send an SMS or a text or a copy of this to another database or to another service. So I'll cover that in the next video, but with this one, this is how you set up buyers generally and how you set up buyer campaigns.